Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and it's time to hit the waiver wire for week 2, but we're going to hit it fast, and we're going to get out, and that's what this is all about today. That's right, waiver wire on the go, express version, so get your pumpkin spice latte and get your Athletics' own Jake Ciely on the way out the door. Jake and I are going to go through some of the top 5 waiver wire pickups, and because, you know, we're just benevolent here, we're going to give you some extra bonus guys to think about as well. Jake Ciely, I know it's one of those weeks where, you know, you look up at the scoreboard week 1, crazy things are always going on, but one of the things that always goes on is there's injuries, and Xavier Worthy is going to be out for at least the short term, we would imagine, or at least limited, even in the best case scenario. So as of recording this Monday morning, you have to look to Hollywood Brown. He is rostered in 31% of leagues right now on Sleeper. He's coming off a game where he had 99 yards on 16 targets and 10 receptions. So certainly the pivot point was very clear that Hollywood Brown was the next man up.
It was, and I don't know if this was Travis Kelce getting upset that Taylor Swift was excited about Xavier Worthy.
I've seen that meme.
You've seen that?
It is funny. Oh yeah, you were excited about him. I'll show you.
He saw him coming. Xavier didn't see Kelce coming. I don't know if he assumed he was going to change routes, but Kelce just bowled right through him.
Well, you know what's funny, Jake? My daughter who plays football, and she said, who do you think's wrong there? And I said, well, who's been in the offense for a decade? And she said, yeah, it's probably Worthy. He's probably like, somebody got
who saw the other person? Worthy wasn't even looking.
But you can't slow down a guy who's 6'5", 250 against a guy who's, he can't slow down. And if you're supposed to go underneath, you don't go underneath.
Oh, you're trying to get whatever.
I'm just saying, if you're standing on the tracks when the train's coming through, it's going to get ugly. And it did.
Well, if we're talking about health, I don't know that we can withstand much more health for Hollywood Brown, especially if he's going to be having 16 targets per week. But at least until Rashee Rice gets back, or he blows his hamstring or his calf or whatever, because he's Hollywood Brown. I hate to say that, but no. I joke and say that to say you have to get Hollywood Brown. If you need wide receiver health, you have to get him. If you had Xavier Worthy, you have to get him. He's like barely over 30% on Sleeper. But all that being said is I think he's also potentially one of those best case scenario wide receiver 2-3s that you potentially immediately flip. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you just picked them off waivers. Of course you want to trade. I'm not going to give you anything for that. But if you are the most aggressive, don't go crazy. I wouldn't say spending 50% of your FAAB, because it is a ticking time bomb, both by his health and Rashee Rice coming back. But if you're aggressive enough and you happen to win them and you have depth, and maybe you wait one more week for another good game. But I'm just saying, the point being here is when you do pick them up, you need them. Understand it's a limited value. So if you are in a league with some inexperienced people, try to flip them, even if it's a pick them up and flip them.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a very wise sentiment there. Let's get to the next guy on our list here, coming in at number 2, 34% rostered. And as Jake said last week, we did a show. These are the guys to stash before week 1, where it's going to cost you nothing. You pick them up for $0 in your FAAB budget. And hopefully you listened to us. But if you didn't, and he's still floating out there, Cedric Tillman is a guy you need to pick up. For whatever reason, I don't know, Joe Flacco just doesn't like Jerry Jeudy, I guess. I don't know what's going on there. But Cedric Tillman has a lot of talent. He averaged 10.4 yards per reception, 52 receiving yards on 5 catches, and a tutty. And he looked good doing it, Jake, in a game against the Cincinnati Bengals. So again, we tried to get ahead of the curve last week. But if you didn't, there's still plenty of time, because he's still available in almost 70% of leagues right now.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about it. I understand, people are like, well, is Joe Flacco going to be the quarterback all year? What is the Browns offense going to look like? Blah, blah, blah. The truth here is that forget all the other scenarios. Just no matter who the quarterback is, if we got to the end of the season, and I don't remember if you and I talked about this or one of the 18,000 podcasts you and I are on. But the point being is, like I said, if we got to the end of the year and Cedric Tillman had more fantasy points than Jerry Jeudy, we would be so shocked. Like, we would be falling out of our chairs. It would be a surprise to a lot of people, but it wouldn't be shocking. I think that's the difference here. And that's why we like Cedric Tillman, is there's more upside on a per catch basis too. Like, I do expect Jeudy to bounce back, but if you're talking about the upside any given week, I think Tillman's going to have the most on this team, especially if Flacco's not even going to be using Njoku as much as he was, which, by the way, if you need a tight end, stash Fannin. I'm not going to roll him out there in week 2 just yet, but if they're going to be using him on the underneath, but that's why I bring it up, because Fannin was doing the whole concern that we've had for tight ends, like with the Giants and Wan'Dale Robinson and Theo Johnson, or other tight ends like that, where if they're Tyler Warren and Josh Downs, as we saw Warren kind of ruin Downs with Daniel Jones, is that Fannin might ruin Jerry Jeudy because of what the usage is underneath and in their intermediate game. Tillman doesn't have to worry about that. I think Tillman could be a wide receiver for the entire year.
To Jake's point, if you're in deeper leagues, Fannin is a stash for me. Just throwing that out there too. He looks like he could be the real deal. And that's what happens when you have kids who come to the NFL from small schools. Everyone goes, well, can he really play with this kind of competition? And then they show up and they play with that competition. And everyone goes, oh, wow, that's really interesting.
Plus, he's wearing a fullback number. What are you doing, dude?
Dude, don't get me started on the numbers. It's still, old man yelling at the sky still. I still hate it. When I see a wide receiver wearing the number 4, it just pisses me off. I want you to wear 84. That's what I want you to do. I don't know what the hell position
I won't go that far.
Plays.
But at least
the whole thing, I don't like it.
Like Shaheed with 22, like at least get a 1 in front of there or drop, just be 2. But Fannin with running out there with 44, you're a fullback. That's like, why are you having a fullback number? Nobody's going to give you respect.
Dallas Clark wore 40 something, didn't he? Didn't he wear 44? Dallas Clark?
Did he? Was he 44?
You know what? You Google that while I intro the next player, because I want to say Dallas Clark was something in the 40s back in the day.
I think you might be right.
Well, this is what happened. This is why you stick around for the show. This is why you subscribe to Fantasy
correct,
Pros
sir.
YouTube channel. Boom! Yeah, Dallas Clark. How's that for a poll at 9:30 in the morning?
You get a Swedish fish. Congratulations.
Gross. I don't even like those. All right, let's get to,
How about a hot tamale?
No, I don't like candy. I'm a chocolate guy. It's chocolate, cake, and cookies. Candy. Halloween time. Oh, my house was always giving out the premium candy, like the Reese's peanut butter cups and the M&Ms and the good stuff. Bars? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, or at least like the good ones, like the little fun size.
People are about to get so mad at us right now.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, they're talking about something else other than football for 30 seconds. Brad, Chad, calm down.
I was in the store. Did you notice that this year? So like, there's a 70 count bag, 80 count, 110. The higher the number in the bag, the worse the candy selection in the bag is. So they're all the same price. It's just they jump up they're like, oh, here, have Whoppers and Milk Duds and all the crap that people pull out of their bag and try to throw it in somebody else's. Yeah.
But that was my frustration, is that my house gave out the premium candy and I was out there walking miles for like candy that I didn't like Sweet Tarts. Yeah, I could have just stayed at home. All right, let's talk about number 3 on our list. Don't worry, we're back, everybody, after a little sojourn. We're going to talk about, it's spooky season, and it's always spooky when things come back. We've had several Halloween movies. We've had a lot of Nightmare on Elm Streets, and we've also now got Quentin Johnston coming back again, who's coming back around. 9% rostered. It was a day. 7 targets, 5 receptions, not 1, but 2 touchdowns. So I guess he realized that catching the football happens with your hands, Jake Ciely, with your hands. What do you now? Let's be honest here. Let's talk about FAAB for Quentin Johnston, because certainly that stat line is going to make him very palatable and really interesting to a lot of people. But we've seen this before. We've seen the splash game from Quentin Johnston. Keenan Allen is there. He was also very active in this game. Ladd McConkey's always going to do his thing. You do have the rookie Trey Harris here. Is this the trap of week 1 that people are going to fall in and wish they never spent a dime on Quentin Johnston? Or are we going to see a different version of him, motivated by the fact that he's got all of this crowded stuff around him and his path to playing time is now harder?
So is his name Kevin Ogletree, is what you're asking? We're doing this again for everybody that remembers 2012. Kevin Ogletree, the first week for the Cowboys, 2 touchdowns. I think he had 1 for the rest of the season. So yes, that is the risk. But look, 3rd-year breakout for people that want to chase that. I mean, that could be a thing. But whatever the narratives that you want to chase with Johnston, here's the interesting thing: is you brought up Keenan Allen. Is that Keenan Allen was out there in 3 wide. Quentin Johnston stayed out there in 2. Quentin Johnston ran almost as many routes as Ladd McConkey, and that's the real interest here. Look, don't go crazy with your FAAB. If somebody wants to throw 30, 40%, let him have them. But if you want to do some teens, you need a wide receiver, you don't want to go after Hollywood Brown because you know that's a ticking clock like we talked about, and you want to be a little bit more aggressive for Quentin Johnston, it's let somebody else have Brown. I'm okay with it. It's going to really depend on, your league, the people that you play with. That's why, we talk FAAB all the time, but how aggressive your teams spend, how early they spend, whether they try to be budget conscious or whatever it might be. But Johnston, can he be like Tillman, a wide receiver 4? Yeah, but I'd still only call him a wide receiver 4 because this is still going to go through Ladd McConkey. Keenan Allen's still going to be a factor. I do expect more games to be more run balanced. I don't expect the Chargers to go out there every single week and all of a sudden be pass happy like they were in week 1. They're facing the Chiefs. So I think that you look at a lot of factors here and say, okay, let's understand Quentin Johnston. He is a 1st-round draft capital talent, and maybe that was an overdraft. But at the same time, can he be a wide receiver 4? Absolutely. And I think that's what your expectations should be. So if that means 12% of your budget, cool. Would I go 30? Probably not.
Okay, let's get to the next guy on our list. Before we do, quick shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Fantasy Finance. Fantasy finance is like fantasy football, but for financial markets. You can build virtual stock or crypto portfolio, lock it in, and compete in skill-based contests against other players or AI. Winners Earn prizes from entry pools and platform rewards. No real money is traded or invested. This is a strategy game designed for competition and education. Join their Discord to join their closed beta right now. The link right now is in the description. Check it out. Again, to join their Discord at Fantasy Finance Today. Okay, moving on to the next guy on our list, a running back that, look, we know he's probably rostered in most of the leagues you're playing in, but for those 10-team leagues or those casual leagues, if you're listening today, we always like to throw out somebody like that. Like Quentin Johnston's 9% rostered, but Trey Benson of the Arizona Cardinals is 54% rostered, and he had a great run yesterday. And this was a player that I know you were in on quite a bit going into the season, and a lot of other sharp people were as well, because the insight was, hey, look, at some point this James Conner train at least slows down, and at some point the Trey Benson one ramps up. It didn't happen last year, but 2025 starting new, I know week one can be a bit of a weird situation where we see things that aren't necessarily the truth, they're illusions, but obviously you saw enough yesterday in Trey Benson to think this is a guy we have to have on rosters right now.
Absolutely. And, you said it, more shallow leagues. You might be in a 12-team league with only a 4-man bench. I know a lot of people play in those because they want to try and force action on the waiver wire and trades and stuff like that. But the point being is that this should be more 70, 80% rostered, and like including whatever kind of league you're in.
That's absolutely true. I was shocked that it was only 54 on Sleeper, a very active place. I was shocked.
And that's why I brought him up. And I know, like you said, a lot of people are probably like, not my league. And good, because he shouldn't be out there in your league. And that's the point. And that's why Trey Benson's on this list. And most of all the rest of them are under 35%, but we did want to bring him up. The big part about it is the interesting usage from week one points to this might be a Jordan Mason situation, as differently, like more like pass catching, but some opportunities where there's a world where Trey Benson has standalone value this year. And that's the interesting part, is if he's a flex RB3, and yeah, you're not going to want to start him in a full teams, a 16 team. Everybody's out there like this first week that we had. But on buys coming up as soon as week 5 rolls around, injuries start to creep up as they do every single year. Trey Benson could find his way into some of your lineups. And then, of course, the appeal, as we know, is if we did a top 5 ranking show right now, you and me, Joe, and we said, who are the top 5 handcuffs? Trey Benson would probably be inside the top 3, if not even pushing for that number 1 spot, and probably number 2 or 3. But that's why he needs to be there. And yeah, you just threw the number in there, 39, under 40% on Yahoo, which is where I was just going to, Yahoo's got to get their stuff together over there, boys. Come on. Not the Yahoo people, the people playing there. 9%
rostered on Yahoo. You beat me to it. That's even more shocking, I think, than the fact that it was only 54. Is it on Yahoo? But the thing with Yahoo is I think there's a larger grouping of 10-team leagues. And I think you get also some of that roster percentage built into Sleeper. Think about this too, guys, is you also get that built in from all the dynasty leagues that are on Sleeper too, where he's going to be rostered. So it's a little bit artificially bumped up there. But in those 10-team leagues, if you're playing on ESPN, if you're playing on Yahoo, he's available. Make it so. Another guy on our list now, look, everyone's going to yell at us because Trey Benson's too much. So we're going to go dig deeper. Let's go to a guy who's 5% rostered. You like that? How you like them apples? Juwan Johnson, tight end of the New Orleans Saints. Look, it's not going to be pretty. The uniforms yesterday were not pretty. I hated those uniforms that they wore yesterday. I don't like alternate uniforms on week 1. Again, old man yelling at the sky.
You don't like Dijon mustard coloring for your uniforms?
Oh, God. And when Notre Dame wears that weird yellow gold color, too, I hate it. It's so hard to watch
it's almost a guarantee that they're going to blow the game, too. That's
100%. But Juwan Johnson, let's talk about him, because this is a player that I low-key, in deeper situation like Scott Fishbowl, I think I have him in that roster, and a couple leagues like that, those best ball rosters where I said, the quarterback play is going to be really spotty. Taysom Hill's got an injury. Why not Juwan Johnson, especially with all the many ailments that befall the wide receivers in this group, where you're just trying to complete some, high percentage passes over the middle and get the ball moving a little bit. Why not Juwan Johnson? And week 1, why not?
Well, and that's the thing. So I was kind of the chicken and the egg argument of like, is it Spencer Rattler targeting Juwan Johnson a ton, or is it the fact that he had no wide receivers left? Like, that's what I was kind of. So at least in week 1, you're definitely more right. I wasn't super high on Juwan Johnson because it's like, hey, he's got a healthy Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. What do they need Juwan Johnson for that much? And this is also the Saints. And I know it's a different offensive coordinator, different system, but it's like they use multiple tight ends. And I know a lot of them are banged up right now. But the good part about it is Juwan Johnson barely left the field. Like, that's the appeal here, is like he was out there like 90% of the time. And Who targeted him a ton? Spencer Rattler. So that's the other part I bring up. If they turn to Tyler Shuck at some point, maybe this doesn't continue. But as long as Rattler is at quarterback, and as long as Foster Moreau and all the rest are banged up, and he's basically the number 2, it was like Olave, and actually he was the 1 yesterday for all intents and purposes. But a top 2 option with Rattler. Look, we might not have George Kittle. We might have other tight end situations where you went chasing in week 1. We might have David Njoku all of a sudden back right out the window. Like last year was exciting. We finally got Njoku, and then it's like, oh, well, that was fun. That's dead, as we already brought up Harold Fannin. So I think that's just, if you need a tight end, throw him on the end of your bench and see what happens with, maybe no George Kittle this week. Juwan Johnson, the target volume is just going to help him continue to be a tight end 1.
I don't know about that. Maybe. I don't think we're going to have George Kittle this week. So again, some important guys out there.
That's so painful. I have him in so many leagues.
I have him in 1, and of course it's flex with you, so it's just the worst. So let's talk about, before we get out, we got about a minute left here. Let's talk about some bonus guys and some deeper leagues that people might want to stash as well.
I think that people are going to groan at the third one just like you did. But the first 2 are rookies that are running out there as the 2. Jaden Higgins. Good news, everybody. He led the Texans in receiving yards. Bad news, that was 32 yards. But he's out there as the 1 and the 2. Similar to that for the Titans, Alec Alliamanor is running out there as the 2. Like, there was a question if he was at the 3, and like, okay, that's cool. He's already the 3. Joe brought him up last show, and I agree with him, is these are both rookies out there as their 2s for their team. And then if you need running back help, this is why I threw it out there. I do think Caleb Johnson is going to get more involved as things go forward. But Kenneth Gainwell was in a 50-50 split with Jaylen Warren. Forget the contract. Forget the excitement. Jaylen Warren is just Jaylen Warren. I was on this like, hey, guess what? Jaylen Warren's finally going to break out and finally be the guy. The Steelers gave him the contract. They're not even using Caleb Johnson. And all that was like, nope. You know what the answer is? They're just going to turn to Kenneth Gainwell 50% of the time. So again, this is the deeper leagues. These are for the people that might need running back help, depending on what happened in week 1 and going into week 2. But Kenneth Gainwell, until Caleb Johnson's a thing, I mean, he's the one that has the Najee Harris role, which is insane to say.
I don't know, man. I just don't know what I'm going to buy out of that game yesterday. It was very entertaining, way more than I thought it was going to be, but I can't get there with Kenneth Gainwell.
How about we bookend Sunday with we had one of the most entertaining games in the past 5 years of the Bills and Ravens, but we started with one of the most entertaining games that nobody saw coming.
Nobody saw coming.
Jets and Steelers.
It was actually a very entertaining week 1. There was that lackluster in the middle, a lot of it.
The 4 p.m. games?
4 p.m. games, lackluster to say the least, but you're right. The bookends were very exciting. And of course, we're going to be here every single week doing waiver wire. And if you need more help on the waiver wire, make sure you use the tools. Don't be a tool. Use the waiver wire central tool over at fantasypros.com/myplaybook. Download the Fantasy Pros app today. It'll give you suggestions to help you add the right players to your team and who to drop to make sure you win a fantasy championship. Don't forget to subscribe to Fantasy Pros YouTube. We're trying to get to 300,000 this year. We could do it with your help, and that'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Jake Ciely of The Athletic, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Happy hunting on the waiver wire.